Welcome, beautifuls. Christmas Day for some still, and Boxing Day here in Australia. So welcome to my live stream, or if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. My name is Hannah from Reality Awareness, so welcome. I've got some interesting things that I want to share today, right? So we've just passed over the peak of our Eclipse Portal, and I've had lots of realizations stream through about this. So let me, as always, share this and deeply come into presence with you about it, because there's quite a lot of interesting things I want to share. And where is it? I meant to grab my, here it is. Yes, the little crystals. Hey, Marina. Yes, say hi when you join me live. Let me share this and be present, because, yeah, a lot of people are really looking forward to 2020. So yay for that. Awesome stuff that is birthing out of us. So let me get this over and done with to share it, because I just had lots and lots of things streaming through me about being shown things. So I felt like I've been in a distance healing all day in a way, because of the insights and everything that had been streaming through me about this Eclipse Portal, and what I posted yesterday afternoon around, the eclipses, center of Saudi Arabia. That is the main peak of where it's being shown, right? Oh, and I just itching to share this. Hey, Danny. Hey, Kylie. Kylie's excited for next year. So good. Okay, so let me share this. Here we go. Easy. Right at the top. Stoked. Okay. All right. Yay. It happened quick today. Sweet. Obviously need to get this message out to you, because that just happened real fast. All right. Sweet. Okay, now, so this whole eclipse, and I just want to share too that for 72 hours, you guys probably seen that Trust the Intuition and the Inner Circle are open for Christmas and Boxing Day sales. Of course, right? It's the time for sales. So Trust the Intuition is usually nearly 2,000. It's down to 697. So you can send me a message. That is where you get to trust every single part of your intuition, and if you wanted to continue on to become a certified healer. Of course, you don't have to do that part, but it is there in Trust Intuition. Or if you're that person who wants it all, the Inner Circle is where it is. So when I open this in January, which is only a couple of days away, it will be 12,000. Right now for 72,000. For 72,000 for 72 hours, it is 7,000. Yeah. So the Inner Circle is where you get everything that is everything I create. You get one-on-one access to me for 12 months deep in the WhatsApp. You get all unlimited support, all unlimited questions. You get access to the full moon ceremony. You get access to every single group that I create and everything that I create, of course wise. And you obviously get your certification as a healer if you choose to as well. Hey, Deborah. So I've got a lot of things to say, right? And just wanted to share that right away, because it's really important. Because if you really want to, yes, 2020, that's right, 12 months is deep in the Inner Circle, right? This is where you get to fully exponentially step into and deeply align to your life purpose and actually birth it onto this planet, right? So I'm so excited. All right, so this eclipse, now talking about birthing things on the planet, right? And this is really, if you guys have been following me for a little bit, you would have seen me talk a little while ago about all the things. I don't know if I shared this bit publicly. I thought that I did, around, I've been watching this Netflix series. I think it's called Resurrection Urtical, I think is how you pronounce it. Anyway, it's big on the, it's a series about, I guess, the history of Turkey in particular. This show's about Turkey, but it's also about the history of Islam. Now, I'm not religious. I never have been. I was brought up in an anti-religion, anti-spiritual place. Do you know what I mean? But this is literally like all those realizations to me, right? Like I've never been drawn to like religion at all. I've always had a negative view, I guess, of Islam itself, even though I didn't know anything about it, right? It's just what society, well, my perspective of society has shown me about the culture. And for whatever reason, I started watching this show just as I randomly start watching things and I get shown things, right? And then I found out, you know, like the lapis lazuli that, you know, was given to me in my spiritual awakening when I was in 2005. The woman, her husband had brought it back directly from Afghanistan, which is right next to Turkey. And, you know, like earlier this year in June or July, I found out that my soul crystal is lapis lazuli, the totem animal for the snake, for the lapis lazuli is a snake. And I had this done year before. And so all these things, right? Now, lapis lazuli is all about realization of the truth, right? In the liquid crystals, this is where I'm referring to about these things I'm mentioning here. Now, what's interesting to me about this eclipse that we've just gone through is that when I looked at, I think I Googled something about it. It was, let's see. It was something about, I just got to find this bit for some reason. I thought it was still on there. So, and I guess what's interesting to me is that whole like land is really like deep in, you know, like in the realization, right? And when it was something about the eclipse, and I think it was the Forbes article that randomly came up. I just got to find it for some reason because, yes, the Ring of Fire, the decade's final astro gift, right? And so the eclipse is like literally directly over Saudi Arabia. Now, if you guys remember, back a few months ago now, we did that live distance healing, the live global healing, and what came through was all over like northwestern Africa. And we did all under the land there, and it was like this big purging out of like the sacral chakra. Now I know that's technically not the sacral chakra of the earth, but when we did that land and earth healing, it was like deep in sacral chakra. It was like enough blood has been shed, you know, like all of that, and a real deep cleansing of the womb of that top western place of North Africa, right? Like that western side. That's where the distance healing mainly was centered on. Now, and then it jumped, you know, into just like the top part of South Australia and Australia and underneath Uluru, right? Like that's where the natural distance healing took us to. I think we must have been in April or something we did that. Yeah, you remember, I think you were on that live stream, weren't you? And so when, you know, like we did that, and then now this eclipse is like directly over like Saudi Arabia, I think is, yeah, so visible from Saudi Arabia, where the sun will rise as a ring of fire. So all of those, like there's a few places there. And it's so interesting because that, you know, like, I don't know, it's like this birthplace, right? And it's so interesting because this whole birthing and the whole mother and father, it was in April, like the mother and father lineage is really strong right now, yeah? So it's like this whole thing around, you know, you might have been questioning recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks, especially like your mother lineage and your father lineage and doing a lot of generational healing, but also really like not just like clearing and like, well, we're not part of that lineage anymore or whatever, but more around like, well, what is the mother and father represent for me? What is that divine balance for me? What is that, you know, representation of the masculine and feminine in my life, right? And I feel like this part is like really coming into a different level of home. So with Uluru as well, right, shifting, and the whole umbilical cord and like connecting in. Yes, it's sacral chakra, but the solar plexus is like Uluru and all the reconnection that's happening there. So when we're plugging into the right source, we're like taking back our power and connecting into the correct source, which is solar plexus, right? It's our power center, we're connecting in. And I feel like, you know, the whole thing with Saudi Arabia, like I watched that show, right? And they talk about, you know, like they're always referring to the Quran, and, you know, there's lots of little snippets from the Quran that they share in there, and it's like full of insight and wisdom, and I'm loving it. But the part, you know, they always refer to like Mecca, and obviously that's I googled it, and it's a city in Saudi Arabia. And it was so interesting. I found this other article this morning or this afternoon when I was, I don't know, randomly get like intuitively sidetracked and like go on these, I don't know, Google searches, right? I've literally been in this distance healing. And this woman had written this article back in 2006. It was posted, but all about like Mecca, and it's like it's the holy city of Islam, and it's near the Red Sea and all this sort of stuff. And long story short is that they refer to Adam and Eve, right? Now I know that all like religions and, you know, biblical texts and whatever, you know, they're always referring back to Adam and Eve. But for some reason, you know, it says here like Islamic and Arabic tradition teaches that when Adam and Eve were cast from paradise, Eve fell to earth near the Red Sea, where the port of Jeddah now lies. After she and Adam, who landed in modern day Sri Lanka, had wandered many years alone, God reunited them on Mount Arafat. One verse in the Quran suggests that the valley was then called Baka or Becca, and it's just like going into this thing, and I was just like, wow, I'm like reading this thing about the origins again, right? And it's like all around that land is all the origins of, you know, Adam and Eve and like the first people on earth type thing, you know, like way back. And it's like all these, I feel like what's coming through on this eclipse and the whole, I'm getting covered in goosebumps as I say this now, like what's coming through on this eclipse right now is the like origins, yeah, like literally our umbilical cord is plugging into what source, right? It's like, yes, our mother and father, but literally like the real source, like the original home, yeah, like not just our blood mother and father. And how like this is like, I feel like we're going back in time to the origins of where humanity started, but I feel like it's like being, I don't know, so weird, like being born again, resurrecting, like, but in like a full new profound way. Like, and I know like when I say this I'm like, well duh, Hannah, of course, like we're birthing and we're coming into a new level of consciousness, and you know, so like but it's like we're reconnecting back to our origins or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's really hard for me to describe, but I feel like the home thing, right? So obviously with Christmas, home brings up a lot of stuff. So for me personally, you're having the chills. Okay, cool. Because I'm like trying to explain something. I'm like, yeah, I can talk about this. And now I'm like, I don't know if the real message is getting across, like the depth of what I can feel and everything that's been channeling through today. I'm like, so this home thing, I'll read you a message in a minute, Marina. So like home, and I just wrote notes so I make sure I cover what I wanted to say. So I feel like the origins, so our mother and father, umbilical cord, you know, they came together in love, a desire, attraction, that's what brought them together, your mother and father. And so our umbilical cord is like connected to that two coming together, right? And we've got like this current life generation, but then we've also got our original home origin, like, and again, I don't know how to describe it anymore, but it's like a human consciousness, like when humans began origin, like, do you know what I mean? And it's just so interesting to me that this current eclipse is over the lands where they say it all originated from, like, do you know what I mean? Like Sri Lanka and you know, like Egypt and Saudi Arabia and like all those countries like just around there, like Turkey and Iraq, like that whole place there, like that's apparently where it all started. And I just think, you know, like it's quite phenomenal to me really, because I don't know, like, and I can still feel there's more coming out, like more information coming through, like, and I remember saying this months ago when I first started talking about, you know, this whole Islam and stuff, and it was quite phenomenal to me because like in Mecca itself, like you have to be Muslim to enter the space, like, and I don't know, like it holds like 1 point something million people at a time, like it's freaking phenomenal. Just like what I found reading about it and all this stuff here. But with the annual eclipse, and like, you know, with any eclipse, I mean, it's the dark moon at the moment. We're shedding layers of consciousness, and just the timing that we're then coming into 2 weeks later, the full moon, that's now bringing us to this space of like taking our power back. Like, I just feel like we're not being suppressed anymore, you know, and I just wonder how much truth is going to really come to the surface in 2020 because of the energies of those original lands or something, you know, are really coming into the point of it all surfacing, like the truth surfacing. And like, you know, lapis lazuli is all about the truth. Like that's its thing, like realizing the truth, cutting through to the truth. And lapis lazuli originates from Afghanistan. Like that's the original home of lapis lazuli, and all this energy just feels like it's centered around there. And I was even getting the message the other week, like there's a lot of energy around underneath those countries, and I don't exactly know what that means, but yeah. So Marina says, my son is actually going to Uluru and all of the top end in 2020. He's actually handpicked from his school, as I knew about 40 were able to go. He's actually very intuitive, so this will be interesting. Awesome. So amazing. Hey, Pauline. So, you know, like with this home, and I just want to share for me personally, like home, you know, they say home is where the heart is, right? And home is where you make it and blah, 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 right? But for me, it's been really big this year because you guys all know my family story history that, you know, I always share. And it's like in this space around, you know, like feeling sad about not going home. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, you know, like want to and don't in a sense. And that's really hard. But then when I actually saw some stuff yesterday, you know, my brother's story, and it was like, it just felt like this whole different reality. Like I was like, oh, like, you know, when you feel like you missed something, but then you see the reality of it and it's like, oh, like don't actually, you know what I mean? Like you think you missed something, but then you see the reality of it and it's not what you thought you were missing. Like it's kind of interesting, right? And I feel like there's all these realizations going on for a lot of people around what home actually is, where home actually is. And I feel like, you know, the whole eclipse energy and, you know, the portals of home are actually amplifying and like rewriting, I guess, rewriting what home is, rewriting the origins of home. Like, do you know what I mean? Like rewriting that home soul origin. And I feel like this is a big rewriting of soul origin. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know how to describe. You've done that as well. Yeah, it's so interesting, right? So this, you know, whole space around lapis lazuli and the energies of those lands coming up, I just feel like it's so strong in redefining what home actually is for us. So yeah, so actually like, and so the other note I've just written here is literally like being in a different reality to the realization of actually what is reality. Yeah, like just all these wake ups to reality. And I feel like the more and more we connect to our authentic home and truth, like umbilical cord and the reconnection of our personal power and taking back our power and being empowered instead of disempowered, moving forward into 2020 and beyond, like there's this real deep sense of, I don't know what it is, like I guess it's a reconnection back to the soul and the truth, right? Because when you really think about our solar plexus is our personal power, it's our trust in self, our self-esteem, our self-confidence, self-worth of who we are. It's our seed of who we are, right? And so when we really reconnect back to that, then it's like a reconnection back to the truth of our home, which is our soul home. It's not what our material world has presented to us. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to describe it. Just like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I can talk about this. And then I'm like, feel like I'm struggling to talk about it. The other thing that's been coming through really strongly, and I know Egypt's right next to Saudi Arabia and all of that, but Egypt energy has been really strong for me, especially the past 3 days, but definitely over reconfiguring energetic codes, so kind of the whole of December as well. Now I know lapis lazuli is obviously very connected to Egypt as well, but I just feel like there's more coming up. And also the Palladians, yes, the reconnection back to our home. Yes. So all right, let me just see what wants to jump out about the So interesting. Okay, so lapis lazuli, so this is out of the liquid crystals. Lapis lazuli is a member of the Ancient Council of Seven, a direct result of serving as one of our physical bodies in Lemurian times and ranking it as one of the 7 most important geometric tools for our human race. She is also the key to an important stargate triangulated by the alpha stars of the constellation Cetus, the whale. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Aries and Pisces, through which we all pass before birth. In old Atlantis, those skills with lapis lazuli utilized the voice as a healing tool in mantras, songs, and chants, and were some of the clearest spiritual channels ever to walk the earth. So lapis lazuli is a sacred stone of Thoth, Isis, Ascended Master Kutumi, and Archangel Jophiel. It may, for some, open communication to the 24 elders that surround the throne of grace. Now, I had that crystal come through in the Hermes activation. Oh, what a surprise. That's so awesome. So just on the voice, right, I feel like part of this moving into 2020 and what, like a big, especially if you're watching this live stream, what a big part of your, I guess, soul's calling is to use your voice, whether singing, mantra, writing, speaking in any way, shape or form. But I feel like it's also about you owning your voice, which comes from that reconnection back to your solar plexus, back to you taking back your power and actually having the courage, solar plexus, to speak up rather and be empowered and hold your ground and your power rather than being disempowered and trampled on and shut down, right? And like the throat's so connected to being able to express who we really are, which is being amplified by your solar plexus and sacral at the moment, right? So Danny says the facade of families thinking they are getting on coming together for Christmas and or we have ascended past this low vibration. For me, I didn't feel lonely on my own with my daughter this year. Yes, content, but did a lot of work and grieving the weeks leading up. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have shared that, right? So yesterday, I actually had a really good day on Christmas Day after my cry, and the week leading up, right, to Christmas, I was crying a lot, and I shared that on live stream last week or what have you, last Saturday. And there's been a lot of single mums, to be honest, a lot of that I've connected with that have said, you know, like, actually Christmas was the best we've had in a few years. And, you know, like it's been tumultuous, you know, leading up to it, but it's actually been the best Christmas day that a lot of people have had. So this is really awesome, I feel, in a lot of shift and around, you know, like coming into the realization and coming into the peace around the reality of what we're created and what we are creating. And I feel like this shift around the family, is it like the family view, or really it's like, again, it's like this whole coming home to self, coming home to what's important. I feel like all these energetic alignments are just like bringing us back home to our heart, to ourself, to inside and that deep internal connection rather than outside, you know. And every time I say stuff like this, I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer, Hannah, like, you know what I mean? But I just feel it on such a soul level, like we've really done a lot of work to shift into this space, you know. So yeah, you cried prior as well, yeah, and loved yesterday even being alone. Yeah, so interesting, right? So it's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm just going to pull a card from the Work Your Light Oracle just to really see, and I'm going to see if there's any more messages wanting to come through about the Eclipse Portal, because I just feel like I'm like, I don't know if I actually got the message across of what I actually wanted to share about that. Oh, and the secrets of the universe are being revealed. So yeah, it's being strong. What do you mean by that? So Shine also says, first Christmas ever. I've not left my house. Yes, best one ever. Awesome. No dragging around my girls to see everyone. It was lovely. Usually I cry on Christmas Day, feel alone, but not this year. Yeah, so awesome. Yay, love these shifts. Super celebrating. And it's like a new cycle as well, you know, a new, you know, Jesus was born on Christmas Day, you know, like that's the purpose of it. And like even Adair and I did this like ceremonial ritual last night to birth into 2020, like just to start that process, because it is a new cycle that starts, yeah. Plus being new moon as well now. It's not a no-brainer being strong. Do you mean like crying is weak, but now you're realizing it's being strong. I'm not sure what you mean there, Pauline. I'm pretty sure you mean. Okay. So the secrets of the universe are being revealed. I just feel like there's, again, so much of that truth is surfacing, and over 2020 is just going to continue. But I feel like it's because we're connecting back to the truth of who we are and taking back our power, meaning our power never really was taken away. We were the ones giving it away, so to speak. But I just feel like as more and more people reconnect back to themselves, it'll feel and seem like more chaos in the world. But actually it's because we're reconnecting back to ourselves that we're able to hold this space, I guess, for the chaos to go on around us, but we're not engaging in it like we used to. We're not caught up in it because we're plugging into the right source, not getting the feed from that. So I just feel like the secrets of the universe are being revealed. I just feel like this whole, and it's like the sense coming through is like this next 2 weeks leading up to our full moon now, as we now step into our new moon energy, right? From now onwards, new moon to full moon over the next 2 weeks, I just feel like it's just going to be like realization after like shedding skin. Like it'll just be like layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of just like all the truths being revealed. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like there's so much, I don't know if you guys can see and feel it, like so much, and it might be like a no-brainer for some, so much sacred geometry is being like activated in the field that is more, I don't know how to say it, like more conscious, more like can feel it walking around. I don't know if anyone else can feel that as well, right? So the cards, I'm going to pull 3. So the first one is take a break, a life's work, not a season, get off the treadmill. Yeah. The next one is, and there's a new moon on that one as well. The next one is priestess. How are you being called to step up and lead? And the triangles are really jumping out at me. And for some reason, the triangles are super like connected to the subconscious, but I don't know how. So the third one is just say yes. Look, there's the triangle again and the triple goddess, right? Now, the overlying message is the crumbling. What are you clinging on to? And I feel like, again, that's where I was saying, like, the more we connect in, like, look at that super powerhouse of a beautiful garden inside, yeah, reconnecting back to what the truth is, but everything is crumbling around. So, like, this whole, as we reconnect back in and connect back to the true source, the earth is reconnecting back to the true source and, being repaired, yeah? And so everything is crumbling around us. Take a break, a life's work, not a season, get off the treadmill. Where can you work smarter, not harder in 2020? And again, that new moon on the card, and you can see there's like a woman down here like fully opening to it. And I just feel like there's more. Yeah, and I feel like this is exactly what I was sharing around the next 2 weeks. It's just going to be layer upon layer upon layer. Like this is a really potent time now between our eclipse now and the 12th of January. So take time to meditate, take time to connect, because I feel like you will be receiving really clear, accurate intuition about your purpose, about what you're doing in 2020. Like don't doubt any of those messages coming through. If you get a sense to change something or step up or move something or whatever, like it's really clear. Yeah, I can't get that message strong enough for you. It's open, it's clear. New moon on the card, which is where we are right now. How are you being called to step up and lead, right? That's the priestess card in the right now. The lions on the side, it looks very Egyptian. Again, that energy from Egypt is really strong. And I feel like that's like, I keep hearing the resurrection, and I don't know if that's because I've been watching the show, but I just feel like as we reconnect back to our soul's truth, that's when we rise. Like, and I can't stress how much it is really important right now that the next 2 weeks, super strong in so many realizations. And I feel like and the message I'm getting is like, you will be doing a lot of things that are, like your intuition is already there before you're even realizing you're doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I guess that's like a clairsentient and empath thing, is that we're doing the intuition and then we realize that we are doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the intuition. We're already doing it. So really take notice of what you're doing, right? Because I feel like this is really also setting the tone for 2020, but beyond. Yeah. So really take notice of all those ideas that are streaming through. How are you being called to step up and lead? What is your connections to Egypt? What are the messages coming through? What is, you know, when I think of Egypt, I think of intuition. I think of magic. I think of high priestess power. I think of, you know, that real deep internal connection to self, which is really about embodying the truth of who you are as we move into 2020 and beyond, is really allowing yourself to be that person. Yeah. And step up and lead. This is the thing, like, if you're watching my live stream, if you follow Reality Awareness, like, your purpose is to be a healer, is to step up and be some sort of intuitive guide in some way, shape or form, because you do that so naturally anyway, like you do, right? So how are you being called to step up and lead? Really take notice of what you do without even realize it. Yeah. Just say yes. Do you need any more confirmation? Like, yeah. So really deep internal connection. And again, I keep getting the message so strongly, like, really be so mindful over these next 2 weeks between now and the full moon, because it's super potent energy. Like, it really, really is super, super potent, right? Okay. So Pauline says, you said the things you shared felt like a no-brainer to you. However, I feel it's not. It's because you understand it. It's strength and wisdom. Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you. Because sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, like, this is a no-brainer. I need to figure out what that is about myself. I'm like saying this stuff and yeah, it's not doubt, but it's, I don't know, something else. I need to look at that. Thanks, Pauline. So Danny says, I'm receiving all these memories of spiritual gifts of a child, yes, and young teenager that I disconnected from due to family trauma and systems, yes. I'm loving, embracing, and connecting to this. Ah, so good. I think it was on a live stream the other day when I was like, the inner child is the seed of your intuition and your wisdom. Like, your inner child is where all of your childlike faith and wisdom and all the magic and connection to the universe is, you know what I mean? And so interesting talking about the mother-father generational, like, you know, it's like inner child healing, but then it's the mother-father healing, and then it's connecting into the true wisdom of self, like, through all of that lineage, yeah? Not just blood, DNA, family, lifetime lineage, but soul lineage, yeah? I'm thinking that so strongly lately, the soul lineage. Soul lineage connection. Okay, is there anything else that I need to share about the energy around those things? Oh, and so the other thing that I wanted to share is that when I saw that the Mecca, it's so interesting. I think it was on this one. Oh, and that was the other thing I was questioning, because when I read this article, so the town of Mecca from ancient times has been an oasis in the, I don't know how to pronounce it, is it Hijaz region of Central Arabia, located at the base of the Sirat Mountains. I don't know how to pronounce this, I'm sorry. It's starkly beautiful strip of the Arabian Peninsula and the site of numerous sacred shrines, including about 300 sacred stones that represent pagan deities and were destinations of ancient pilgrimages. So it's interesting, like, so what was the thing? Oh, it says here, some of the same places that were sacred to Arab tribes have acquired significance in debate around the origin stories of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And it just makes me wonder so much, because even when I'm watching these shows and whatever, and, you know, like, that Islam, the Christianity, like, all wars, from my perspective, have always been about, no, this is the right way. No, this is the right way. No, this is the right way. No, you have to do it this way. We're going to kill you if you don't do it this way. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're taking your land. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, I guess I'm maybe entrenched in this stuff at the moment, because I'm like, but why? But why? 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 Why this way? Why this way? Why is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity the three main ones that started? Like, why? Like, why is there three? Oh, here's the triangle thing again, right? The triangle thing. Why is there three? Like, why is there, like, who was the first? Like, if Adam and Eve were, like, how is there three? How is there three different main religions? I know there's more, but you know what I mean? Like, why? You know, and I guess all these questions that I keep asking, because I'm like, but why? You know, like, where did it start and why? And why? Why? So more's coming through, but I just thought that I would share that because it kind of blew me away a little bit, that the main like place of the what is it, the Christmas Day Ring of Fire solar eclipse. It will be visible from Saudi Arabia as it rises there, the Ring of Fire, and then come all the way over to Philippines. You know, and I'm just like so curious about, you know, that, and you know, the birthing, like Christianity, like, you know, Jesus was born on Christmas Day eclipse over the main port of where it all began. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, there's something going on here. I'm like, more information, please. So I'll keep updating you as soon as I keep finding out more information. Religion is too complicated. I think it's just like anything. You could say mechanics in a car is complicated because you just don't know about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, anything's complicated just because we don't know about it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just feel like there's more and more information coming through about this, and maybe it's just me with my questioning, or maybe it's actually like consciousness rising or something. So yeah. So Pauline says it's funny sometimes until you say it out loud it becomes so much clearer for some reason. Yes. yes. I know. So the journey continues about all of those religions, and I don't know, it's just something about it, and there's something definitely coming up about it. It's just really, really interesting to me about, I'm like, but why? But why? Why? And it's interesting because I was speaking to a friend about it the other day, and she was saying there's this book, I don't know, I need to find out who it was, but his like thing is that he studied all these religions, and you know, I don't think he went and like lived in the religions or something. I don't know. She was just telling me there's a book that he's written about it. And if he had to choose a religion, one that he would choose is, you know, if he had to choose one of them, it was Islam. It was becoming a Muslim. And I was just like, wow, well, that makes total sense. Like, you know, the thing about this show that's not just hooked me, like, you know, it's making me want to learn about the Quran, but I'm hearing all this wisdom, you know, that they're sharing, and it's just kind of interesting about the, you know, the truth of it that's, you know, being shown to me right now, but also that it is one of the biggest religions on the planet. And I know they're all pretty much, you know, as big as each other in a way, but I really do feel that this is probably one of the maybe origins or what have you. But again, I was, you know, questioning that on like Islam and Christianity, and, you know, like in all the shows, they're always fighting over land and religion, and it's just interesting. I'm like, but why? why? So there's more coming about that. Everyone just needs to follow their hearts. That's what I say. Because I always say that all religions lead to the one and only God, even though they say, but it's our God. But it's our God. And I'm like, but it's all called God. Like, it's all the same. So you know what I mean? Yeah, thanks for asking that, Danny. Is there any specific rituals or anything we could complete for today as well? Because in that sense, you know, I actually was going to come on live stream earlier today, and I actually felt really, like I was really feeling intense energy. I was feeling like all this pressure, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, I had to go to the beach, and so I just went to the beach, and you know, nothing real fancy. I had my daughter and my dogs there, and we just went for a swim, but intuitively, intentionally, I was swimming to release anything that needed to come out of my field that wasn't in alignment, that I was letting go of as I let go of this cycle and really step into the openness and vulnerability. And I'm getting covered in goosebumps. So you could do something similar. Now, you don't have to be at a beach. You could be in the shower. You could be in a bath, and really just like intentionally being conscious, right? You can use this as your ritual, that your consciousness of, we are stepping out of not only 2019, but a whole entire decade. We're stepping into a whole new era of light. Like we're shifting astrological signs. Like that's a big deal energetically, and plus what you're letting go of, but also what you're moving into. Yeah. And I just felt at the beach when I was doing it, it was more about, you know, like, and we talk about this shedding of layers. It's like shedding layers of consciousness, like shedding layers. For me personally, it was shedding layers of, I don't know how to say it, like, you know, like I've gone through so much with codependency and all that sort of jazz, and it was really about letting go of, it sounds so simple when I say it, like letting go of beliefs that have been blocking me to even opening my heart. You know what I mean? Like in a sense of like the pain of not talking to my family or that sort of thing. It's kind of like, you know, they'd be like, so we could pick up the phone too, Hannah. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like, you know, there's just stuff there. And yeah, like I need to shift that. But in myself, just even just like realizing, like it's just, again, the shedding of the consciousness. Like, yeah, I mean, like could appear as shackles, definitely, like when you're doing that sort of thing, but it's more, I don't know how to describe it, and maybe it's just, again, the layers of consciousness. Like you could say it as like the stories you're telling yourself about the situation, you know, like what is the same story you say to yourself over and over again. Like I know for me, these past 3 days, I've had a big wake up call around the same story I'm telling myself about these situations, not just with family, with other people as well. And it's like, is this story really serving me anymore? Is this keeping my heart open, or is it keeping my heart closed? You know, like just little things like that, right? The real, you know, tiny shards of consciousness that are like little prickles or pins in like the smooth road type thing, right? Letting go of the narrative, yeah, and even just catching that realization of this, the origin of the story even, right? But in that as well, I've also been conscious, right? And this is a really important point about it. I've been super conscious of asking myself where does that story come from? So yes, I'm going to have my own like, you know, feelings, hurt, event of the situation, but more about the origin of where it's coming from. For example, where did my mother or father walk through this same story? Where did my mother or father walk through this same event? Where did my mother or father, you know, have a similar situation? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like lineage clearing on a very conscious everyday story. What am I telling myself? What is it that I'm, you know, like, is this me, or am I playing out something from my family lineage? Like that's been really strong in the consciousness. Yeah, it's been really, really interesting. So in that regard, it's really like, you know, coming into like, yes, being conscious of the stories. And, you know, if you wanted to do a ritual or anything like you're asking, like it's more, any sort of ritual is about intention, right? And, you know, for me, like I did with Adea last night, we did a Christmas ceremony, but it was more about what we're manifesting for 2020. And for some reason we felt called to do it on Christmas night. Well, I did, and we did it and set it up because it felt like a new cycle had begun, because not only the shifts in how we're feeling on Christmas Day compared to all the other Christmas days, as you guys have felt too, but also the fact that it's Jesus's birthday and a whole new birth cycle commences, right? And we look at what Jesus represents. It's the Christ consciousness. Jesus represents us being in our heart. Jesus represents unity, oneness, and remembering the truth of how powerful it is to love rather than judge. Yeah, love one another instead of judge, like all that sort of jazz. And so when I've been really catching myself about the judgment that I'm having about the event and the story and what I'm telling myself, it's like catching that and really choosing to change the story and the narrative in a way, you know? So really, you know, like when you're setting an intention, or, you know, it's like, yes, I was doing a cleanse and letting everything go out of my aura that just wasn't in alignment anymore, but it was also more about a resetting of the energy frequency to really shift my energy and my consciousness into this level of consciousness that I'm telling you about, right? It's kind of like instant like knowledge about where that's coming from. Is that serving me anymore? No, like just those, you know, those little shifts, and those little shifts and that you catch in everyday moments are really, really powerful in shifting your entire reality, not just sitting down and meditating, although that's powerful too, right? So when you do, and you know, whatever ritual, like if you saw on my story, if you check on my story, you'll see it's still there actually now, because it's still from last night, so you could check that out and just see, like we literally just put candles around with some clear quartz and space in the middle for what we're manifesting and working on. So being able to, you know, like set an intention, but anything you do in a ceremony or ritual, it's your intention behind it. Yeah. And like I said, you could do it in the shower, you know, and you could do it just by thinking about it, right? So yeah, so something like that I definitely recommend. But sorry, the main point from that is the consciousness, the conscious awareness of the power of the astrological lineups that we have from now, especially until mid and Jan. Yeah, really, really potent to be conscious of them. Spend time under the stars, connecting with the stars at night time, asking for the energetic upgrades, asking, you know, for the energy shifts as well would be really helpful too. So Pauline, I know you just said before, you know, when you said about the religion and money and power and, you know, the more people that can join and stuff. And I mean, like, yeah, that's an outside judgment, definitely. When I've been looking at the, you know, like what I've been learning about Islam from the show, and I know, of course, the show is showing a certain angle of it or whatever, maybe, I don't know. But it's given me a different perspective, taking the judgment out of even that, to be honest, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Because ultimately, you could judge anything, whether it's a company or a government or a religion, they're just doing it for money and power. And I'd be careful, I'd be mindful and open to what it is you're judging about them, because they're just doing it for money and power and get more people in the thing. And it's kind of like, that's your perception of that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But it would be awesome to delve into what is it about money and power that it is, like, what does money and power mean to you? And like really looking at that, like, are you scared of money? Are you scared of power? And you're like, no, I'm not, Hannah. But I would be looking at that because that's what you're judging, whether you're judging religion, whether you're judging the government, I'd be looking at that. Yeah. So Pauline says, do you think, I'm curious, I question it to that it's coming up so that you can find some forgiveness to let it go for yourself. Yes, of course. It's always what things are coming up for. Things come up for our awareness and consciousness so that we can shift into the next level of what we're moving into and creating for our life, definitely. Someone else said the other day, they're like, yes, manifest, but then, what did they say? They didn't say all hell breaks loose. They said something and I said, no. I said, you're working on manifesting and then all hell breaks loose or whatever they said. And I was like, no, that's your shit coming up to clear because you're working towards manifesting what you want. I'm like, when you look at it as like, it's all blocks and I'm not supposed to do it, like, you will stay stuck. When you look at it as though these are the things coming up to clear out, these are the roadblocks to clear out to make the road smooth so you can actually manifest what you want, then you will get there, right? But when we look at it as like, everything's blocking me, it's like, well, you're going to stay there, yeah? When we work on changing our reality, everything that is not this new reality we're working to manifest will come up. It's coming up to clear out the way, to create that, yeah? Yes, 100% for sure. All right, guys, if you're watching the replay, please comment below any questions that you've got. I will definitely come back and check it. And for 72 hours, like I said, Trusting Intuition is open. Also the Inner Circle, and there's only like a couple more hours to go. So tomorrow night, so it's not 72 hours anymore, it's about 48 hours to go. So you can send me a message if you like the details for that. The Inner Circle is where you get access to everything, plus 12 months access to me. So if you've got any questions, any time of day or night, you can text me. Nothing's too big, too small, to anything. Plus you get everything that I ever create, plus all the full moon ceremonies as well, which when we look at our first full moon of 2020, you can join that separately, of course. It's going to be quite interesting this next full moon as Uluru gets reconnected through deep ceremony, through people and places all around the world are going to be focusing on this. So I'm covered in goosebumps as I said that. It's going to be really, really powerful. So in the Inner Circle, you get instant access to everything. Yeah, you're so welcome, Danny. It's been beautiful having you here. So I shall pop the link in the comments for Trust Intuition. The link for the Inner Circle is there. You can send me a message about it as well. then as I said, like you can do just trust the intuition, or if you want it all and you want access to everything I create plus 12 months access to me personally, you get my personal phone number to be able to text me whenever you want to, whenever something is going on for you, so we can help you shift and rise into your purpose, dear powerful ancient blooded healer. So yes, you just signed up for the full moon. I know it's going to be amazing, right? So it's going to be held at 5 a.m. Brisbane time. So that is the live. You can always catch the replay as well for the full moon ceremony, and I'll post that on my page too, or you can check it out on my website, realityawareness.com. It's down the bottom there when you scroll down. So it's going to be so amazing, setting this amazing tone. But remember, that starts now with these eclipses going on, right? So you can send me a message if you've got any questions, comment in the comments if you've got questions, what's going on for you, and I shall see you really soon. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe to my channel. I shall see you guys soon. I love you.